Hi, today I'm going to show you how to use GitHub Codespace to working from anywhere or any machine basically. I will show you a demo of working with the xmCloud on a Ubuntu machine. Before we start, you can check the documentation for the GitHub Codespace. Basically, the Codespace will save you time that you need for setting up your development environment by providing pre-configured cloud-based images for a development environment. That means you can start coding right away. The pricing model is based on the machine that you are choosing. You can use the price calculator and depends on the machine and number of the CPU cores and amount of the RAM. You can do a calculation here, and for example, if you choose the smallest machine which has 2 cores and 8 GB RAM, and you have one developer which works 40 hours per week, and you are using 10 GB of the storage, then you will have roughly $30 cost per month. You can also change the configuration of the Codespace under your account settings. Basically, on the settings, under the Codespace, you can choose the idle timeout. The default is 30 minutes. That means after the 30 minutes of inactivity, the Codespace will be shut down, and it will save you some money if you forget to stop the Codespace. The maximum is 4 hours. You can also here configure the retention period, which by default is 30 days. So that's it. Let's jump in to see how we can use the Codespace for our xmCloud development. So I have a clone of the SXA starter kit, and configuring the Codespace is quite easy. In the root of the repository, you need to create the folder which called .dev container, and inside the dev container you need to create the file called dev container JSON. This file will be used to configure your Codespace. In here you can give it the name. We need to specify the base image because we are using because we want to use the Codespace for the xmCloud. We need the .NET CLI, so we use .NET 6, and we also need Node.js, which will be enabled using the feature. To be able to get the preview, we need to use port forwarding. So from the outside or external network, we can access the our Codespace development environment. We will use the default port for the Next.js development, which is 3000, and we will configure it to be accessible from the outside. So that's it. We need to commit this to So I will push it to the repository, and now I need to go back to my repository, and I see the dev container is there. The code that you're seeing here is out of the box code of the xmCloud starter kit. So I just added the dev container, and here I can configure my code space. I can do it over here, or I can just go to the Codespaces and create the machine from there. So to create the Codespace, you can just click it on the repository, and it will start to, based on the configuration that we did, it will start to create the Codespace for us. It will take a minute or two. So now our Codespace is ready, and as you can see, we are in the Visual Studio Code, and you have access to the repository. Now, if you go back to your repository and refresh the page, you will be able to see the Codespace is connected to your repository. Basically, you have a Visual Studio with Visual Studio Code with all of the functionality that were available for you locally. You can, if you want, you can also change the theme to the dark, and to get it running, you can use the terminal. We need to go to the source folder and the 6IS starter kit. Need to run the npm install to install the dependency for the Next.js app. And until it is installed, I can configure the environment variable. Basically, we need to connect our environment to the xmCloud. To do that, we need to have a Sitecore API key and the GraphQL endpoint if you want to connect to the xmCloud environment, or you can use the Sitecore API key with the GraphQL endpoint of the Experience Edge. So I have added the JSS editing secret, which is needed when you want to connect the Sitecore pages to this environment. And I also added the Sitecore API key and the GraphQL endpoint. And depends on the JSS version, you may need to configure the Sitecore site name or JSS app name. I just added the JSS app name as a fallback. You don't need it if you are using the newer JSS version. And we need to configure the public URL. The public URL, you can get it from the ports tab in here. And this will be your public URL. Basically, it is your Codespace URL minus the port number that we have configured in the dev container, which is 3000, and the rest of the URL is the .app.github.dev. So now we can run the npm run start connect to it. So when the server is ready, we'll get a notification which says the application is running on port 3000. You can click it and it will open the link in the browser for you, which access basically the port 3000 of your local environment. That is the port we have configured in the configuration for the Codespaces environment. If you check the ports, you will see currently there are two ports in use. One is the 3000 and the other one is for the browser syncs on the port 9229. Here you can also check the integrated browser in the Visual Studio Code, or you can just open it in the external browser, which we did already. So that is your Next.js app, which is connected to the xmCloud instance that we have configured in here. So now our application is running. If you need to use Sidecore pages, we need to basically configure the editing host. To do that, you need to go to the Sidecore. Under the system services rendering host, we need to define a new rendering host which points to our Codespace. On the server side rendering field, we need to add our public URL followed by API editing render. And for the server-side rendering engine, we will just add the base URL. And for the application name, you need to use the same Sidecore name. It would be the basic site in this case. Then on the on your site, on the site grouping, you need to choose your rendering host that we just defined. It would be the GitHub Codespace. And to prevent the possible issue of the site matching or site resolving, we need to define the same domain name here. Sorry. And save it. Now if we go back to the Sidecore pages and we refresh, we will get the error. It will says, yeah, you're not authorized. It is because our port is port 3000 is set to private, as you can see in here. It's an easy fix. You can just set the port visibility to public. And now if you go back to the Sidecore pages and do a refresh, it will be connected to your GitHub Codespace. So that's it. Before I close this video, I just wanted to point out one or two smaller things. If you want to use the Sidecar serialization, you need to run a .NET on the root of the repository. You need to run a .NET tool restore, and afterwards you can just do a .NET Sidecar Cloud login, and you need to, if you want to use the serialization against the xmCloud instance, you need to connect to that environment. One more thing is about the GitHub. As you can see, we are connected to this Codespace, and here you see it is active. You can stop it from here, or you can just go to the Codespaces. Here you will see the different Codespaces that you have, and from here you can either stop it or remove it. As a hint, there are also extensions available for the Visual Studio Code if you want to connect your Visual Studio local instance from your machine to the Codespace, or there are also extensions for the JetBrains and Jupyter Lab. So that's it, and yeah, I hope you find it useful. Thank you for watching. Take care.